Hello and welcome to this chat. My name is Cathal. I'm a vocal coach based in Ireland, and with me is Mel Toy, who is a vocal coach based in London. And the topic that we're going to talk about today is the flip side of self-doubt. So I think really we're kind of taking something that's often construed as something very negative, and we're going to look at it as positively as we can.
100%. Kind of like, what is it? Poor positivity. What was it called?
Non-toxic self-doubt is kind of what we're talking about as kind of the opposite of toxic positivity. And certainly the way I think about it is self-doubt being weaponized as something of an ego repellent, something of an aid to keep us grounded in reality, and as a motivator.
So do you find for yourself then, do you find that having that little voice of doubt in your head helps to motivate you, and how?
Totally. It's like this little imposter syndrome that maybe I'm going to be found out, that people are going to realize, oh, I can't do what I'm claiming to do at all. Think of a real example. I find as a vocal coach, one of the things that it really does make me do is always make sure that I'm still singing. Because when we're busy as vocal coaches, it's easy just think as vocal coaches the whole time, and easy think as well that the people that we work with, might take it for granted that we're singers. I feel I need to prove myself, if only to myself as a singer, and be a vocal coach that sings, and to not lose touch with the fact that even though I work in a studio, I work with clients one at a time. It's about helping them to be the best singers they can be and to perform as well as they can. I need to be able to do that, and I need to prove to myself from time to time that I'm still doing it.
So it is then for you, it is a motivator. So like, what do you think would happen if you gave in to the voice of self-doubt and then you didn't act on the motivation? What do you think that would lead to?
I'd probably distract myself and forget. Is the truth. But if I thought about it, to give you a better answer, I think that I'm gonna answer a slightly different question. I think that it is very easy for anyone in any position to get to a point with what they do, whatever their career may be, where things are okay, and we can continue to do what we do without rocking the boat too much, without taking too many chances, and that the comforts that we enjoy, the routine that we enjoy, won't really be effective. The status quo, if you like, will be maintained. I sometimes feel it's important for me to do something that is taking a little bit of a chance, taking me out of my comfort zone. And I find that it's a really healthy thing to do, especially I'm 41 now, so I suppose I am middle-aged, even though I have to remind myself of that sometimes, because I don't feel it, even though I am. That it is healthy to do things that take us out of our comfort zone. So for me, whether that is, studying something new, doing something in my own private life that is completely different as well, I think it's really healthy to remind myself that my comfort zones are there to be challenged. And that little bit of, shall we say, non-toxic self-doubt, wondering where I have to prove to myself that I can do something, is a really good habit to keeping me sharp. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. It's an interesting one because self-doubt as a concept is generally associated with negative things, right? Because it can often come with a lot of criticism and insecurities and anxieties as well. Like self-doubt and anxiety has a lot of interactions. So I think just even the concept of thinking about it as potentially being a positive thing is an interesting take on the topic. I guess when I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm kind of like thinking about the possibility of self-doubt being a positive thing. I think what it comes back to is how someone speaks to themselves. So are they talking to themselves from a perspective of constructive criticism or constructive self-doubt, or is it accompanied by a series of negative thoughts and insecurities? Because if we are doubting our capabilities to the extent that we think that we are unable to achieve something, not could I potentially maybe not achieve something, but actually I can't achieve something, then that could potentially be quite debilitating. So it's like, it's that thin line between having the confidence and being able to rebut the doubts and having the skills, to then be able to go, okay, but if I develop X, Y, Z, then I will be able to achieve whatever it is or do whatever it is that I'm trying to do. And then it becomes constructive because then you can make a plan. So like if I wanted to do a handstand, which I don't, and if I tried to do that right now, it would be hilarious. And it would not be a handstand. Yeah. So like I have a lot of self-doubt about my ability to do a handstand. Yeah. But I'm actually confident that if I really cared enough, and if I was patient, maybe in like 5 years' time, I would be able to do a handstand, just with those day-to-day steps. Well, if I take it from the perspective of those day-to-day steps, and that's constructive, right? And then that's motivation. Totally. So that might be more useful.
Yeah, and I think I think a lot of this is really about being comfortable with taking on something that you can't do right now. And if we think of ourselves as musicians, as performers, as singers, as artists, I think we're always driven by the desire to want the next thing that we do to be that little bit better. And I think that most of us are realistic enough to realize that it's never ever going to be perfect. And being comfortable with that in the first place, like perfectionism is a whole other topic. But to be comfortable enough to enjoy what you do now, again, as a singer, as a performer, as a songwriter, as an artist, but also to strive to do it that little bit better tomorrow. So to get a bit closer, if you like, to doing that handstand tomorrow and being even closer the day after. But today, while you do it, not beating yourself up too much that you're not there yet. And the thing for me about that little voice is that little, non-toxic voice of self-doubt is for the day that I'm not so motivated to do something and to take a chance, to say, no, you've got to keep this up. You've got to be, it's not about being true to yourself. I don't like to aggrandize it and frame it as this, all-encompassing huge lifestyle thing. I think it's much more subtle than that. And for me, that being the case, it's much more sincere. It's much more real as well. And the way I think we are programmed, all of us, in the musical realm, in the singer's realm, is we are all at the level we're at because we've gone from a point where we couldn't do something to doing it, and it's to continue to do that. I always remind myself when things are good and going well to beware of the good times, because that's when it's easy to take things for granted and get complacent.
Oh, I love what you just said though, that you've got like the idea of the journey that you've gone to get to where you're at today, because it's so easy to forget that, right? And you can look at something that somebody else is doing, like social comparison, or comparing yourself to other people, has got a lot to live up for, really, given how often we do it and the impact it has on us. So like if we're comparing ourselves to somebody else and we're going, oh, I'm not as good as, I will not be able to be as good as, and then that's inducing self-doubt, actually looking at where you've come from to where you're at today can be really useful. And maybe that little voice of self-doubt, if we flip it to make it more constructive and non-toxic, is that then we can then take that moment when we notice that thought to go, oh yeah, but I have achieved XYZ, I have grown and got to where I am today. And that little shift in mindset can help you then continue with progression, because where you're at today is where someone would really like to be.
Yeah.
And that's quite a nice reminder.
I always remind my clients, but then sometimes I have to remind myself as well that, you know, something I did badly today, I would have been hugely impressed with 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a great way to just dwell on the progress that we make as well, and at the same time competing with that, but also being comfortable with the fact that, you know, being comfortable with your discomfort can sometimes be a bit of a superpower. Or another way, it's kind of not giving a shit. It's like a superpower. Just do something. Fail again. You know, what has Beckett said? Ever tried, ever failed. Try again, fail better.
Feel better. Yeah, that's great. I guess in a way, what we're saying is it's a reality check.
Totally. And it's accountability as well to yourself.
Yes. Yeah.
Totally.
Love that.
Yeah.
The non-toxic self-doubt, which we're totally coining that phrase. We're keeping that.
Absolutely.
It's a reality check and a motivator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And at the same time, it's an ego massager and an ego repellent.
Love thyself, but not too much.
Yeah, exactly. Love yourself just enough. So how does this pertain to singers in 1 minute? How do we bring this back to singers?
Well, I guess it's like, I mean, I feel like we've kind of been talking about it, you know, it's like where we're at today is not where we were yesterday, it's not where we're going to be tomorrow, but having the little reality check to keep us motivated and moving in the direction that we want our career, our technique, our style, our expression, our whatever it is that we're, you know, there's so much that singers engage in, but just that little reality check to keep us moving in the direction that we want to be moving in. And that, I guess that's also kind of part of it is, where do we want to be moving to, but perhaps that's a conversation for another day.
Hi folks, I hope you enjoyed today's conversation about non-toxic self-doubt and how it helps in keeping us on our toes and as an ego repellent and massager. Keep an eye out for more content from myself, Cathal Jack, and from Mel Toy.
Yes, thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure. This is For the Singers. We'll catch you real soon.